Hey everybody, this is Shirlene with Shirl's Crafty World.
.com.
And today we are coming to you with Mr. Bob's story of his ventures on 9/11. I will begin and then I'll let him take it from here. I remember being in bed. At that time, he was on days. So he had already departed for work. And it was probably around 6, I don't know, between 6 and 8. I remember hearing I had the radio on, and I remember hearing over the radio that a plane crashed into a building in New York.
It was about 8:45.
Well, okay, 8:45. I didn't think a whole lot of it until I got the call. What is that on my chin? Okay. Until I got the call from Bob when I guess the second plane was inbound.
When the second plane
Had hit. And he says, honey, get up and turn on the TV. Something is going on. And when I did so, his mom was visiting, so she was already up making her tea and stuff. And I got my son up because at that time I was homeschooling him. And I said, this is history. You need to see this. You need to watch this. So I'll let Bob take it from there then.
Well, what happened? It was a bright, sunny, clear morning. Everybody knows it was just as clear as it could ever possibly be. And it was a beautiful day. You can't ask for any better.
We had only been married 11 days.
Yeah, we had. Yeah, we were newlyweds. And here I am. I'm at work. I'm starting a torque check on a Turkish Navy Seahawk. When a guy comes out of one of the offices and mentions that a plane had hit the North Tower. Now, in those days, I was an air crewman. Did a lot of flying, and I had flown a lot of times down to Manhattan, down past the World Trade Center, down to the Statue of Liberty and back. So I was familiar with the VFR corridor down the Hudson, the same one that Sully used to land
Good old son.
the Miracle on the Hudson. But back then, all I could think of was some lawyer in a Bonanza had a heart attack and crashed himself into the North Tower. So I didn't pay it much of any mind until somebody came out. Somebody hit the South Tower, and at which point everything started hitting the fan.
Yep.
Oh my goodness! I mean, they started bringing aircraft into the hangar, and they started trying to put everything on lockdown. And I'm going, hey, wait a minute. In a case like this, if you think we're going to get attacked on that scale, you don't want to be concentrating your target. You want to disperse it for minimum damage.
Mm-hmm.
And so what ended up happening, the government chief pilot, and the company chief pilot got together and formulated this idea of, hey, how about we got all these helicopters? Let's bring a bunch of first responders and supplies and crewmen and 7 helicopters down to Wall Street heliport, and we can set up a triage center and medevac patients as needed, and we could actually do something.
Now we're stationed in Connecticut, so
Yeah,
we're close enough.
yeah, we're only like a half an hour, 40 minutes flying time away from downtown Manhattan, if that. So while everything else is being shut down, they're getting us the necessary clearances to go do this, and lining up the supplies and the first responders, and asking for volunteers from us for crewmen from the hangar flight personnel. So I says, I got to do this. I'm ex-Navy. I'm a Navy veteran. I've been flying with the company for years and years and years. I know what I need to do. I got to do this. It's what I've been trained for. So they accept my volunteer, and I call Cheryl to let her know that I'm going.
I pick up the phone, and me and my mother in law and my son had been sitting on the couch watching the replay of, the buildings exploding. And because some of the news people didn't know that they were catching it while they were talking about the first hole. And then they realized, oh man, another plane's coming in. So as they did the replay, my mother-in-law had buried her face in my shoulder and began to cry. Now this lady was like in her late 70s, I think, in her 70s at the
Mm-hmm.
time. And I just felt bad, to have her crying. And she just said the view from her New Jersey apartment will never be the same. And I didn't think, yeah, she lives on the eighth floor. She can see straight across over to the Twin Towers. My son, he didn't know, Ma, what's going on, And I'm just like, that's terrorism. That's bad guys, beating up on America. But then the phone rang and I pick up the phone. It's Bob. And mind you, we've been married all of 11 days. And he says to me, honey, I'm gotta go. And I said, go where? He was like, I'm going with them down to New York, down to Manhattan. And I appreciated his heroism, but we had only been married 11 days. I didn't want to be a widow. I dropped to my knees and was like, no, I don't want you to go. And my mother in law said, you're scaring your son. Please get up. You got to be strong. So I got up and I said, okay. And he said that the job would stay in contact with me. And he said that a friend of his, Doug, would stay in contact with me, which they both called me while he was gone to check on me and let me know that everything was good, that he was safe and everything was okay. So I'm going to let him tell you what happened after that.
Well, they let us fly down one at a time because they wanted to make sure that anything in the air was legit. And when my bird got its turn, we flew down as soon as we cleared the hills that surround the Stratford plant. You could see the smoke plume. It was one of those clear days where in past days you could see the Twin Towers clearly on a day like that. This time all you saw was the smoke plume. And it was, oh, it's almost indescribable, the feeling that you get when you're seeing that with your own eyes. It's one thing to see it
On TV.
on TV, but to see it for yourself, that's another story altogether. And it only got worse from there, because all the air traffic had been shut down, and we flew over LaGuardia, and there was nothing moving. Now, on a normal day, that airport is jumping.
Yep.
You stay away from that airspace if you really want to get anywhere or do anything. That's why they made the VFR corridor down the Hudson, so
Sure.
folks can work their way through that. But this time we flew straight line from here head down to Wall Street Heliport.
And what showed up?
And as we're going by, here comes an F-15. I mean, fighter jet. If that thing had been angry at us, we wouldn't have stood a chance, because that thing had real live missiles on the rails. And it identified us and allowed us to continue on. So eventually what we ended up with is having 7 Blackhawks sitting there on the helipads at Wall Street Heliport, and we offloaded all our stuff, and we're setting up a triage center, and we're all wearing dust masks because we are right in the smoke plume from the impact area.
Mm.
And we get everything set up, and we're waiting for customers, basically.
Waiting for
Waiting for
victims of the.
victims of the tragedy. But we were prepared to fly them to whatever hospital could accommodate them. And we sat there and we waited and waited and waited. And the smoke plumes sort of died down a little bit. And then all of a sudden it really picked back up big time, because that's when Building 7 went down.
Mm.
And we waited some more until it was like right before sunset. And they talked to the powers that be, and they decided to send us home.
There was nobody to rescue.
Basically, there was nobody to rescue. People were either in the building and they were
Perished.
they were in the building and perished, or they got out and they were safe. So there weren't much in the way of minor injuries that we could transport. So they sent us home.
And when you got home?
Well, when we lifted off to fly home, we flew down around the tip of Manhattan and then up past Ground Zero. And we saw the smoking pile of rubble for ourselves.
Mm.
And you talk about a bunch of angry aircrew. That there's nothing that can describe the kind of rage that built up. The closest I can imagine is what my parents' generation must have felt like, those who could see the aftermath of Pearl Harbor.
So you get back to Connecticut safe?
We flew back, and we landed. By the time we got out and it was dark by the time we were able to get out of work and head home. And I came home, and I walked through the door, and it was just like, thank God I'm home, honey. Come here, I need to hold you. And it turned into group hug.
Yeah. Because the kids were wondering how you were, and your mom.
Yep. And the one thing I can say from all of this is at least I got to do something about it.
Yeah.
Most folks, most of y'all, all you could do was just sit there and watch it happen.
Over
and over again, as the world changed in an instant. I at least got to do something, and I had the honor and privilege of being able to do it. And that.
And you got a certificate.
Yeah, a few months later, February of 2002, they brought us all down to Ground Zero. They had this little viewing booth. It was just big enough to accommodate us all, and they had the commanding general from the Defense Contract Management Agency. They had bigwigs from the company.
Keep it short.
And they decorated the military crew, and they gave letters of commendation to the civilians that went on it. And that's it. The whole thing is something that I will never forget, and I don't want anybody to forget. This stuff can happen again.
That's right, if we're not on our P's and Q's.
Yeah, if we get complacent like we were on 18 years ago yesterday, it can very easily happen again. So, don't forget. Never forget.
And there you have it, folks. Mr. Bob's journey on 9/11. There were a lot of tears, a lot of thank gods, and afterwards, a lot of prayers. Prayers for those that were missing, prayers for those that were hurting, and prayers for those who gave their lives for this country, not even knowing, especially the plane that went down in Pennsylvania, because I think that plane was headed towards the White House and they took it down so that it wouldn't hit the White House.
Yeah,
So,
a friend of mine's wife was supposed to be crewing that aircraft,
yeah,
but traded out at the last minute.
so many people near misses. So, never forget 9/11, and thank you, Mr. Bob, for your service.
It's the only real mission that I've flown.
Yeah. All right, you guys, I just wanted to share our story with you. As you can tell, it is now 18 years later. We're still married.
Praise God.
But I thought it was over at that 11 days and it scared me so. All right, so we love you. Stay blessed and never forget. This is Shirlene with Cheryl's Crafty World.
.com.
Be blessed. Bye for now.